Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Technology is creating opportunities in the commercial real estate industry at an increasingly rapid pace. Technology-fueled innovations are enabling those forward-thinking firms to reduce back-office costs and risk, raise equity faster, and increase asset performance so that they can focus more time on activities that drive revenue. Today, IMS is the most widely adopted investor management software for commercial real estate firms. Visit us at investormanagementservices.com.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Dani Beit-Or. Dani, thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. Impressive to do a show every day.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I appreciate you being a guest and appreciate that as well. And a little about Dani. He started investing in U.S. real estate at the age of 26 while living in Tel Aviv, Israel, over 17 years ago. That alone's enough intro. That's impressive enough. But to add to that, he's helped and guided investors through the purchase and sale of over 3,500 residential units, 100 residential flips in multiple states. He's also ex-Special Forces, and education and execution are key for success. That's what he says. So, Dani, thanks again for having us on the show. Give us a little more about your background and what your focus is right now.
Thank you for having me. As a way of a background, I would say that, I started investing in U.S. real estate when I was, 26-ish, give or take, which I think it still amazes me that it's pretty young, because usually when I work with investors, I see them as early 30s and not younger than that. At the time, I was, I was just out of the military for 3 years in the Israeli Special Forces. Finished my engineering degree, started working for the Israeli high tech, and kind of realized there's a flaw in the default formula there, and that's kind of what drove me to start investing, and not immediately in real estate, but I got to real estate within a year or two, U.S. real estate, because I saw that a lot of people around me, mostly the generation before, my parents, their friends, uncles, older cousins, and etc., they all follow the same formula of working, and here is 10, 15, 20 years in, and the only thing they have to show for all those hard work and it's a price at a higher personal price is maybe a condo or a house with a mortgage, and something didn't add up to me. I didn't know what the answer is, but I knew if this is the default formula, it seems like everybody's following, even my friends, they still do. Something didn't add up with that. I didn't agree with that. I didn't know what to do. Young guy at the time, not even 26, I'm like 24, 25, starting to look for what to do, knowing one thing, this is not acceptable to me. And I kind of realized that I may not find the formula for a quick buck, or how to get rich quick overnight or something like this. I have no idea how to do that. At least I acknowledge to myself, I don't know. So I started looking for avenues that will give me maybe a slower pace or a slower path to wealth over time. And that's slowly, after doing a few other things like options and stocks, I found about U.S. real estate. And I remember buying my first single-family home in a tiny town called Phoenix, Arizona. I had to look on the map. By the way, back then, MapQuest was around. Google Maps were not around. Google was still a startup at the time. It's funny as it may sound. And I bought my first house, outside one of the Phoenix suburbs in 2002. Sight unseen. Me, the young guy who has no one around him, who does U.S. real estate, buying a house, nice house from the builder in Phoenix, Arizona in 2002. That's how I got started. And that was amazing, 2002. We know what happened next, but that was a pretty good start without planning for a good start. That was just a good one.
I was going to ask you if you came and seen it. No, that's impressive. From that far, away that you were investing in real estate here. You know, there's lots of people in the States who will not pull the trigger, you know, or not make it happen and jump in, you know, even in their own backyard, or, you know, maybe they're, you know, not willing to travel a few hours, you know, to drive somewhere, but you know, you did it from Israel. That's impressive. And
maybe so, stupidity.
What's no, well, but you know, look at you now, you know, you at least got started. Whether that deal worked out or not, you learned a lot, you know, but I would say too, you know, what was it that, you know, at that young age too, what was it that helped you to see, you know, what everybody else is doing is not what I want for myself? Because I see so often, you know, it's hard to break that, right? The training that you've had, you know, as you're raised, you know, whether it's, you know, raised by specific parents or even just the community that you're in, it's hard to change the mindset, you know, from what everybody else is doing. So how did you do that?
I think that what I realized early on is that in life you need, you know, in life we're told or grow up to have role models. And I taught myself that to have what I call a negative role model. This is what I don't want to be, okay? Now, let me tell you that this may sound like, you know, like a really negative or a bad, you know, not so nice thing to say, but I will say it on my parents. My parents are excellent role models on certain things. I think on parenthood, they did well, you know, as much as you can expect from parents. Work-wise, always hardworking, still are. Ethics, you know, ethics in life, integrity in life, hard workers. You know, for sure. My mom is, you know, she's 75 and she's like, you know, excuse my language, pissed that they had to retire her because, you know, as a judge, they retire you at a certain age, you know, if you want it or not, and she hates it, right? She hates the fact that she has to retire. So they're very good on that. But money-wise, handling financials, all of that, they were always the type of role model how not to walk, you know, to walk the path in life. By the way, I still don't know who's right and who's wrong, right? You know, the jury's still out. But that was my, and I've managed to collect few of those role models in my life. And you know, sometimes I ask myself, even in business, I have, you know, people that I've seen and worked with and know closely that I always ask myself, what would this person do in this situation? And I think when I tell myself the answer, what I think they would do, I go and do the other thing. I go in a different direction, exactly 180. He would do this, okay, I want to, then I'll go in a different direction. I call it the negative role model. Those are not necessarily bad people by any means. They're just not the way I would like to make decisions in life. So I think that kind of drove me. I mean, the fact that I was looking for the solution and looking for an answer, you know, nonstop, so to speak, kind of drove me to go in that direction. The pull the trigger. I remember very clearly at one point I told myself, okay, you've been looking at U.S. real estate for almost a year now, attending seminars and reading and finding information as much as you can at the time. Are you gonna talk about it? Are you going to walk or talk? Right? That was a conversation with myself, and I said, okay, I'm a walker. I'm not a talker. I got to pull the trigger. Otherwise, it's all talk, and that's what kind of drove me, because I felt that I'm someone who does and not just talks about things. And I know it's true, but at the time you don't know yourself that well. I was young enough not to know that well. Today I know I'm someone who pulls the trigger.
So I appreciate, anyway, I can really relate to that as well. And you talking about the negative role models. I haven't heard anybody say that term before, terminology, call it that. But it's great. Like you want to find role models who are where you want to be, right? And so, you know, you can ask lots of people about finances and how to handle them, and everybody's going to give you a different answer. But, you know, is that person where you want to be? Are they walking the walk? And so, you know, I appreciate that. And, you know, you had mentioned also when you were talking about your background working, you mentioned working with investors at age 30, and I wanted to clarify that when you were at 30 or before you were 30, or you mean your investors were younger than 30?
Well, I moved to the States in 2004 because I got very passionate about real estate. And started working with, you know, for myself, you know, buying real estate, but also working with other investors. I moved when I was 30 years old, exactly. And over the years of working with investors, I've noticed that usually the people that come and start thinking about investing are people in their, at least the younger ones are in, are in their early 30s. So you don't really, once in a while I get the 24 or the 26 or the or below 30, but they are very rare, very rare. And also those are not always people who pull the trigger. But the fact that they're already thinking about it, that's impressive. Usually, most of the investors I work with help them execute are, I would say, 30, on the wider range, 30 to 50 years old, somewhere around those lines. I don't usually see the mid-20s coming and thinking about investing. Maybe they do and they don't get to us, but I would assume over 15 years and over interacting with probably close to 12, 13,000 investors, not all of them are, our clients, but just interacting with them, I don't see someone very common, very frequently who says, "Oh, I'm 26 and I'm ready to invest."
So, tell me about your investor relationships and maybe a little bit how they've changed from, or let's focus on when you moved here at age 30. What was your investor base? What did it look like as far as were most of the investors that you had at the time from Israel, or did you have some U.S. based investors as well, and what was your thought process around that at the time?
Mostly U.S. based investors in different parts of the U.S. Mainly from the West Coast, but not only. Most of them by far are individuals who work for the corporate world, a lot of Silicon Valley type of engineers still, but not only, some are, like professions like doctors and lawyers, but some are just, teachers and policemen and firefighters and all of those things as well. People who basically, they all follow the same pattern of, we have a job, we have a family, we do well, we're not necessarily wealthy, but we live in a super expensive area such as the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, San Diego, Orange County, Seattle, and New York, Boston, all of those expensive real estate markets that you both need relatively a lot of cash to purchase something, but even as a down payment when you buy with a mortgage, but also the rent purchase price ratio is pretty horrible. And they realize they want to invest. They realize they want to go to another state, but that's where the concern is about investing altogether. There's a lot of fear, a lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that we don't know, and it's even amplified when you're thinking about going out of state. This more, the systems, processes are a little bit different, and that's where we came in and say, okay, we're gonna help you close that gap of knowledge. We're gonna help you close that gap of trust with local people on the ground in different markets. But the profile was well-to-do, busy individual with families and expensive real estate markets around them. So it's kind of either impossible to invest locally, or just numbers are just horrible.
Wow.
Cash flow wise.
So, how did you find those investors or connect with those investors when you were in Israel? U.S. based people, or had you made those connections yet?
In Israel, I didn't do that. Only when I moved here. For a few years, I worked with someone who was already in the industry. But honestly, I always thought of myself as a really lousy salesperson. I don't know if it's true necessarily, but that's where I'm coming from. That's my mindset. And that translates, in reality, it translates to a couple of things. Number one, I don't twist anybody's arm. I don't convince anybody. Investing needs to come from you. I will do whatever I can to help you make smart decisions, and my team will do the same. But I'm not going to convince you to invest. If it's not coming from you, that's not going to work. That's just my mindset. The second thing is, I said, okay, if I can chase people in terms of marketing and sales and all of that, and that's going to be very hard for me to do because I don't think I'm going to be good at that. But if I turn the tables around and I would position myself as an expert, position myself as a speaker, educator, truly someone who talks and teaches, and not someone who's just doing a sales pitch. Over the years, I have done well over 350 probably, live classes in the room, and probably similar number of webinars where I always told myself, it doesn't matter how much you charge for the event, from free to a fee, right? You're always going to provide, personally, like my own, you're always going to provide value to the person who's attending, because I attended multiple seminars when there was 98% sales pitch and 2% content. And you know what? Even when it was free, I hated it because they just wasted my time. They just said, we don't care about you. We don't care about the fact that you're not with your family this evening. We don't care about anything. We just wasted your time. For me, it was always disrespectful as an attendee. And I always promised myself, someone may come to my event one way or another and agree or disagree with the strategy, agree or disagree with the experience, and that's okay. That's a philosophy. That's we should do that. But nobody should go out of the room and say it was a complete waste of my time. Never. I don't think anybody did that. So I thought, so I tried to do a lot of educational events, one way in Facebook Live, webinars, like lecture, etc., podcasts, different things to bring value. And I also tried to bring fresh ideas, not what it's a conventional wisdom out there. And the hope is people say, okay, this guy is no BS. He knows what he's talking about. He sounds legit. He sounds with integrity. Integrity, when you are in the Israeli Special Forces, the number one thing is integrity. The number one thing. You can be not an amazing athlete. You can be not the strongest guy, right? But they will tell you from the beginning, if you screw up on something, you got to report it. If you don't report, right? If you report, you'll be punished. You will, right? If you don't report, you're out, buddy. You're out. It's like one of those things. It's not even debatable. This is a line very clear that if you cross that line, you're out. So we would learn, they would say, we got to report. And we knew when you report, it's going to be punishment. It's not going to be fun. But that, sometimes punishment would be running the rest of the night. And sometimes punishing, means you're not, you're on a leave. You stay in the base for who knows how long, and you're not going out to see your family and friends. That's the way it is. But wow. That is ingrained into your DNA. Yeah.
Do you apply that to your team now?
Absolutely. My team, sometimes I tell them, I had a gal that worked for me, really nice gal, a while back. I remember it because I would tell her, I have one criticism for you. You don't make mistakes. And she said, what do you mean? I said, listen, when you make mistakes, that means you took an initiative. None of the mistake you're going to do is going to be horrific, but that means you took the initiative, right? And she would never make mistakes because she would never step up to and take the initiative. The guy who works for me, my personal assistant for years, it took me multiple years to get him out of his comfort zone. And he makes mistakes and he's so apologetic. And I always said, no, it's okay. It's a good thing. Now we learn. As a system, we learn. And, I tell him we don't do life-saving. We don't do we're not doctors. Mistakes here are acceptable. I expect you to make mistakes because that's how, as a system, we will learn and we will all grow personally and as a company.
I like that a lot. You talked about when you make mistakes, that means you took initiative. So you got out of your comfort zone a little bit, right? I mean, you did something you haven't been doing every day for the last 2 years, that you can do really easily. You took some initiative and you pushed yourself a little bit. No, I like that a lot. It may mean that you have to run all night, like you said, right? I'm just kidding. Yeah. But no, that's awesome. And, as far as as far as we'll keep talking about the investors a little bit, because over these many years that you've been in the industry, I was thinking about how the way you communicate with investors now compared to the way you did 17 years ago, because your business has kind of come through this time of where technology has just increased and increased and increased in a way where it makes it so much easier to communicate and get your message out there. But how do you communicate with investors now? How have you learned that this is the way I want to communicate and this is what works best?
Well, obviously, technology, is actually, I was just thinking about it this morning. My PC, there's so many messaging apps, even email in a way is a messaging app, which makes it more difficult to make sure things don't fall through the cracks. So, CRM helps. Email is still the strongest. I tell my investors that I work with them once they join the program, I tell them, listen, I don't care how you want to communicate with me, as long as you communicate with me. You want Skype, WhatsApp, text message, Facebook, email, phone. I tell them I'm not on, I'm not on Snapchat. I'm not on Telegram. Those are probably the other two. Everything is fine as long as you communicate well. I will say that I'm a little bit old school because I hate those back and forth, mostly emails, communications over 3 days that are not very productive. So it's actually wasting time. When I see that's happening, I get on the phone. I say, listen, let's talk about it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and we're done. And then we go back and forth, and the issue is closed. And I don't, I think it's counterproductive to have this discussion over multiple emails. I'm a little bit old school when it comes to that. But I can tell you one thing that worked, that I added in recent years. The one thing that I really like when you communicate with a group is actually Facebook, closed secret Facebook groups. So when I have a small syndications of few investors, even 2 investors, I make sure all the communication goes there because it's easy to let someone else get notification on the, like tag them. That's one. You can search well. You can add photos, add files. So the reason I like the Facebook and the closed secret group is because nobody can see that, is because I call it, it collects the memory, and you can actually work with, look for stuff in the past and have, a communication or discussion around a certain point or a certain, aspect very well. It serves that communication very, very well, especially in a group. Are you familiar with WhatsApp? Do you know WhatsApp?
A little bit, yes. There's people who have tried to message me through WhatsApp.
Yeah, so WhatsApp is a very reliable, like chat, right, with photos and all. Very good, very reliable. But go search something in WhatsApp. Good luck with that, right? It's annoying. How about the discussion around a certain point? Now we have a sale of a property and an offer comes in and we have some idea. Even on a one-on-one, that's a very unfriendly interface. Reliable, quick, yes, but it's not. So for me, Facebook groups serves that, and that works very, very well. I think it's excellent because you can easily search and review, and something is there, and it's pretty reliable. The photos, everything is there. Yeah.
I like that. I haven't thought about doing a closed Facebook group for a deal or a property, and then and you can communicate with everybody at the same time that way, or everybody can kind of see. If you want to put your communications out, as an investor, I could ask a question for everybody to see. That's interesting. And then I wanted to ask you, what type of CRM do you use?
I use something called an open source called vTiger. It's called vTiger. It serves us very, very well. The one that I'm thinking of switching to, kind of debating, because every time you do that, it's a hustle. It's Podio. I think you even had something on that in one of your podcasts. Podio I found to be a very good alternative, but I haven't made the switch for the CRM. I'm using Podio for something else. So vTiger is an open source. And I don't have to pay, because for me, all my property managers, all the agents that I work with, we're talking about more than 30, 40 people, and my staff, my team have access to the CRM. There's a portal for each one of them. So, nice. or one portal they can all access. So that means the cost per user is low, because I pay one fee for hosting it. I don't pay per user. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Dani, what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Wow, that's an excellent question. Perseverance. I've been hit many times, multiple times. And, it knocks you down, and then you stand up and you continue. And all of a sudden you think about another idea that you didn't explore. I can tell you in the recent 2 weeks, I'm struggling selling few properties in Indianapolis and Tampa. And all of a sudden, I had an idea. Okay, I've never sold properties in an auction. maybe that's the way I need to go about it. And I've been talking to auctioneers in the 4, 5, 6 auctioneers in the past few days, exploring it, learning it, and actually starting to move forward in that direction. So it's not a new concept, right? But for me, I've never done it. Part of it is me being a little bit fed up with the traditional agents and the traditional way they go about it. So, for example, I was like, oh, okay. I was very discouraged by the lack of, performance and properties not selling, another kind of, downer, so to speak. And now like, okay, here's another method I didn't think about. Let's explore it and let's see if we can do it. And let's see. So there's always some idea comes up into mind and to explore and to do. Yeah.
I like the perseverance, the determination, and I would, I contribute a lot of mine from from military experience, and I wondered if do you do that as well?
I guess it's there subconsciously.
Yes. Like
in my military service, that was the times. Wow, you're tired. I mean, I remember times I was so exhausted, so tired. I practically sleepwalk. For maybe hours. You're drifting in your mind. You're so exhausted.
And if you hadn't experienced that, you wouldn't even know that you could do that.
Yeah.
And I can relate to that as well. It's just those experiences.
The whole point of training.
That really train your mind, and to laying down and staying there is not an option. So, so what's a way that before we have to go, Dani, what's a way that you'd like to give back?
One thing is always education. So anywhere you will interact, I will be, interacting is through education. Always, that's always been important to me. And then I share a lot of that information. I think that one of the things that was important to me is being through the big crash. I have been refined, after the crash of 10 years ago. I had to refine a lot of my strategies. And what I decided to do is to the investors who work with us, I want them to benefit from that. I want them to avoid the mistakes that me and my investors did before. So that's always key. And the other thing is, every once in a while I get not too often, luckily, but every once in a while I get a call from someone who's really in a bind, in trouble, and when that person comes along, I was like, okay, let's talk. Let me help you. And something, I don't remember any time I charged anyone for that, because they were on the ground, and someone on the ground, you can only do one thing is, give them a hand and help them. You may need it in the future, or they will remember it for you, but you don't want to knock them. You want to help them out. So absolutely, always done that as well. That doesn't mean please call me, everybody's in trouble, right? But people sometimes do, and they ask for help, and you want to be there and try, not financially, but mentally, action they can take in order to get out of the situation they're in.
Yeah, mentoring is a big help. Or it could just be answering 1 or 2 questions, and you can really help somebody that's in a bind. So, Dani, I really appreciate your time and being on the show, just your expertise and just experience, over many years of investing, and tell the listeners how they can learn more about you and get in touch with you.
Well, thank you. Our website my company name is called Simply Do It. Simply Do It. Our website is simplydoit.net. The word simply comes from the word simple. So simplydoit.net. If you're on Facebook, look us up online, look me up online. I do every Friday a live session on real estate investing with questions and topic. I don't take, could be 20 minutes, could be 45 minutes, depending how, it evolves. Sometimes it's core investing, sometimes more of a behind the scenes ideas and mindset. So they can email us, Facebook, get in touch with us, no problem.
I like that name too, Simply Do It. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Dani, thank you again. I really appreciate your time and being on the show, and I appreciate the listeners being with us today. I hope you'll also go to LifeBridge Capital and connect with me. I'd love to get on a call with you and see if I can help you in any way. And also go to our Facebook group, The Real Estate Syndication Show, where we can all learn from experts like Dani and grow our business together. And we will talk to each of you tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.